Hey Sash, how are you doing today?
Very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Had a long day at work, but yeah, pretty good. How was your day?
It started slowly, but it picked up into the afternoon. So everything is going good now.
Sounds good, sounds good. I was talking to one of my nephews in Canada, and it was the weather is not very nice there. It's like
Yeah,
getting
it's starting
colder.
to, yeah, you're getting the fall weather, but it's starting to kind of get cool, and you can see the sky is like cloudy. It's getting ready for winter, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Same here. It's been like rainy and cold, miserable.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, why don't we start by telling the viewers something about your background and how did you get into the CTO role?
Yeah, so my background is in software engineering. Over the last 25 plus years. If I was to kind of go over the industries, I would say they're covering from banking finance to auto clubs to insurance, reinsurance, retail to agri-tech to healthcare, to go over a few industries. So all of those have different solutions to help the businesses grow and scale. I would say you could think of me as a business-minded CTO, if I have to put it in those terms. Definitely technical, but have a business mindset, look at it through a business angle. So trying to look at aligning tech strategy with business strategy rather than the other way around, I would say. Understanding the business value so that we can deliver the technology outcomes to help support business growth. That's the way I kind of look at it. I do also fractional CTO work for startups and scale ups. A little bit of a quick run through, I would say, about myself.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So working with a few different companies at the same time, how does your typical day look like then? How do you
So I would,
manage
s-
the work?
yeah, so I would say I would look at it like you would definitely try to see, okay, was there any disasters overnight, anything like that happen? So the disasters could be anything from, let's say, security breaches to, I don't know, let's say production systems went down, uh, a team quit on you. This can happen sometimes in early stage companies. Was there any angry emails from customers? Was there anything, any sort of emails from the CEO or C level? Definitely make sure this is something important to me. Definitely make sure you have breakfast. Uh, having eating, it seems like it's something we sometimes overlook, but it's important to take that time. For me, I take about an hour, and it's not just the food, but it's also just kind of getting ready,
Yeah.
the mindset to hit the ground running. I would also say casual small talks with the team to kind of catch up. So not everything needs to be formal. Also look at the support team, what their goals might be. If it's an early stage, it could be discussions with the founders, or if it's something that's kind of like established, it could be C-level alignment. Also, have to keep an eye on sales concerns, customer concerns, maybe drop by marketing to see what they're getting up to. And of course, always keep a close eye on any regulatory compliance, security, or standards issues. I know the list seems a little bit daunting, but it's you can go through them quite quickly by just trying to make sure you're kind of rounded and covered across the board.
Mm, cool. And what are some of the common challenges that you face in your role and how do you address them?
So if I have to think about the common challenges, I would think of it like, let's say, three main areas for me. It would be culture, alignment, and issues, understanding what the issues are. So for culture, it's always I always try to uh, work on learning cultures. So you might be coming to work because you love the job, you want to grow, etc. But it's also about learning, constantly learning, and you want to make sure you're setting up a team uh, to be in a learning mode as opposed to being in a like a everything is comfortable and they become stagnant for any reason. So that's a challenge. It's not easy, and but it's to make sure that you're supporting, mentoring, and encouraging them to grow, but at the same time ensuring the projects or whatever the solutions we're developing are actually challenging them as opposed to something that they can just do it quite easily. So that's that. It goes hand in hand, those two. Alignment wise, it's always to ensure that the why and the what is being explained so that the team understands why we're doing this, what does it look like, and then they can go about the how, when, and where situation, I would say, but it's to ensure that it's always updated. So that's the communication to make sure that's always active. Things can change every day, and that's why it's important to have that alignment. Issues can be anything that the team could bring up. It could be anything. It doesn't necessarily need to be external factors. It could be internal factors, and it's to ensure it's understood and you're aligned with them so that you can figure out how to help them. For me, the goal is to remove basically all the blockers that are, let's say, on the road ahead so that they don't stop, they're continuously moving. And
Yeah.
it's to find out what those are and take care of those ahead of time rather than you run into a blocker, then everything stops. Almost like a train stopping at the train station, right? And the track is not laid out, so it can't really go anywhere. So it slows everything down. So it's kind of trying to be ahead of the game and keep everything running.
Yeah, I think that's one of the thing I find really challenging as well in my current role because I've got four different teams and they're all in technology, but they kind of do different things.
Okay.
So one of the team is software development, one of the team is integration team, one of the team does robotic process automation, so it's kind of low code, no code,
Yeah.
and one of my team they develop chatbots.
Yes.
So for me, challenge wise, it really I like when I work on a project. I like to dive deeper into projects, so
Yes.
I can sort of get involved. But that's my main challenge currently as a technology leader because I've got wide range of streams that I manage. It sometimes gets difficult for me to know
Okay.
to get too close to some of the projects.
It's true.
Uh,
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, definitely like trying to work with the different groups, and each group has their own priorities, deliverables. But it's also there's definitely a common thread that will probably bind all of them together in the end, right? That dependency, because there would be
yeah,
dependent RPA, you got integration, you got chat, maybe everybody's depending on some APIs somewhere in there potentially, and then maybe the integration team is maybe that wheelhouse, so to speak, potentially.
yeah. So they'll all be different components of one huge project that will
Yeah,
sort of deliver for any contract at a particular time. But yeah, it's an interesting one to have. It's a good skill set to have to have
yeah,
to to be able to switch off from one stream and then switch put the other switch on. It's quite useful skill to have in my opinion
yeah,
as a leader.
definitely. Yeah, definitely. It also keeps it interesting for yourself as well because you're going in between different things and you're challenging yourself, learning at the same time, but
Yeah,
at the same time, you're not boxed into one space either.
yeah, definitely. Before I think 3 years ago when I joined this role, I didn't know anything about RPA.
Okay, good.
But this year we managed to generate an ROI of around £6 million for the
Okay,
company. So that was quite impressive.
okay. Are they using any kind of RP tools like a UiPath or like a Blue Prism potentially?
We're using automation anywhere.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Good.
Cool. So let's talk about some of the exciting projects that you and your team are working on, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. So one of the ones that was launched, I would say, a month or so ago is so I'm based in a province in Canada, and it's in the Atlantic coast area. So we launched a super app, and the super app is targeting ride hailing and delivery to communities. So the space is similar to, let's say, Uber Lyft, potentially, but Uber Lyft does not operate where we are. Smaller
Hmm.
markets, smaller communities. For them, it's low value, and also potentially the business model might not potentially maybe work. So we found that there was a gap, and we wanted to ensure that the community was getting they're not getting overcharged, they're getting a fair deal, and at the same time, the drivers are making something sustainable. So that's kind of the business model. So based on that, we came up with the initial offering is ride hailing services, and just like Ubers, if you know,
Yeah.
and but it's operating in markets and communities that they won't operate in, or potentially maybe even have an interest. So we wouldn't operate in big cities like Toronto or Ottawa or anything. It's cost prohibitive, if I would
Hmm.
say. But it would be in the other areas, and the province that I'm in, Atlantic Canada, it's a rural province as well. So you need to have some of these services so the community can move around, basically. So that's one of the projects that we just launched like a month ago here.
Cool. I think that sounds like a really satisfying project because it's making a huge impact on the community there.
Yeah, we are slowly making it. So we have the traditional taxi operators, and definitely there's a market there. I wouldn't see a case where it's almost like you're taking market share away from them. There's a segment of the population that will use those services, and it will be fine. But the segment that we're looking at is something different, and so we are trying to provide that option where they're able to kind of book it themselves or schedule it, for example, and then have confidence that the service is reliable, and also the drivers are completely vetted, and we have to follow regulations, licensing, everything. So that's kind of the audience that we are targeting under. So that's one project. The other one is mostly artificial intelligence, I would say offshoots, training custom trained models in the retail and insurance spaces. But those are like custom projects, basically
Yeah.
delivered through third parties. That's what I would. These are the two highlights I would put out there.
Cool. Sounds interesting. And what kind of tech stack you and your team use currently?
So if I use, let's say, some of the ones that we have delivered so far, so I think of it like this, so twofold. So what is it that we need today, and what might we need tomorrow? And based on those two questions, then kind of see what kind of fits. So I'll use like maybe a simplistic view here. So let's say for the stacks, something I need today. So let's say I need authentication with SSO. I need, let's say, a static web hosting. I need a database, let's say NoSQL. Let's say like a backend, Node.js serverless. Uh, let's say event tracking, I'll use Google Analytics. Let's say we need some form of email payments right now. And then if that is, let's say, MVP, then for day two, let's say I need a Android iOS mobile push notification solution. Let's say some machine learning models that we will couple in. So let's say I go with something like a Firebase to start. So it's a
Hmm.
good SPA hosting, right? Google Analytics come with Firebase. We can use something like a Mailgun type of solution with cloud functions to extend that. For Firebase Auth UI, we have the SSO. Payments, you will use like let's say like an NPM package with Stripe. And for APIs, you can use cloud functions like Express.js, battle tested, of course.
Hmm.
And for Firebase, cloud messaging, we can use that for the push. And for any kind of I guess, in-memory caching, you can use like Redis, MongoDB, with some rate limiting in there. So I'm just using like maybe a simplistic example to get
Yeah.
some of the MVPs stood up, but there's lots of tech stacks that we can use depending on the solution. But I'm just wanted to share like a simplistic one.
Yeah. I think when it comes to choosing solution, like back in the day, it used to be simple.
Yeah.
You had like lamp stack, you had Java stack, and then you had the .NET stack. But
Yeah.
nowadays there are so many different options.
Yeah.
There's so many SQL options. There's so many queuing systems. There's so many
Yeah.
caching systems out there. So it becomes more complicated. It's good. It's a good thing that you've got choices out there.
Yeah.
But sometimes I find it too difficult
True.
to choose, and sometimes uh, there is a misconception within the technology in the industry where people, if everyone's using AWS,
Yeah.
it just becomes a choice that, oh, we have to use AWS.
Yeah.
People sometimes forget about what do they need rather than what's everyone else is using.
Agree. Yeah. It's the I always take the viewpoint like the depending on what you're trying to build, the simplest might be the maybe the way to start, and then most of the uh, capabilities we have, we can move in between anything. All the cloud providers pretty much provide the same thing. The pricing is maybe the only differentiator from one or
Yeah,
two capabilities. So, but the important thing is like speed to market. If you ask me, how quickly can you get something up there so that it's good enough functional,
yeah,
and then folks can start using it, and then you can start to do other things afterwards. Yeah.
yeah. I think that's really good advice because for all the startup, it's really important to understand that
Yeah.
you need to know that the product that you're building, people are going to actually use it. So
Correct.
that's
Yeah.
the sooner you get it out in the market, the sooner you build up the user base,
Yeah.
then you create the demand automatically, and you know that now you're ready to put more resources in and make it better.
Yeah. Agree.
Cool. Uh, and to wrap things up, if for example someone wants to be a technology leader or CTO in specific, what is the one piece of advice you would give them?
So that's a hard question. I would go maybe twofold on that. So first, you have to kind of look inward, I would say, and under look at yourself. So, like for example, are you more of a like an introvert or like an extrovert? I would say, and each one has benefits, I would say. Not necessarily one is good over the other, but it's trying to understand where you're coming from, first of all, and then this will potentially help you decide, okay, I'm really, really good with details, specifics, etc. But then when it comes to, let's say, the sales type aspect, so I need to sell parties, the C level or I don't know, founder getting investment, etc. And that's an area that I need to kind of get up to speed or grow into. So right away, you're able to know like that's an area that I need to kind of work on, so to speak. Can go either way. But for me, overall, I would say looking at like, okay, like cultural fit is important, I would say. Culture as in not where you come from, but the culture of the company. Either you're building it or you're going into one. And it's to understand what that looks like and if that is kind of aligned with your own way of operating, so to speak. That's important because that can be a blocker if not.
Hmm.
Also looking to seeing as a into the leadership track, it's the drive. You have to kind of sometimes push through walls or go through them or around it, over it, under it. So it's having that capability to kind of see something and run into something and see how can you still kind of go through, so to speak. The drive is important. I would say curiosity is important as well to help drive innovative thinking or problem
Yeah.
solving. Empathy is important to be able to relate to maybe internal, external
Hmm.
parties, and detailed is important, specifics, understanding. So once you have everything, if you're able to kind of break it down and then able to disseminate into your team, that would be useful because then they already have all the you're able to kind of be that architect and then be able to get all the parties working together interconnectively. And I think those are important qualities. The other one I would say is if you are looking into uh, the not just the leadership but the management and leadership track, Um, Doing work outside of the organization, personal growth is important. That could be any kind of management training or management course where, let's say, you had to write white papers on certain topics and share that with parties, and uh, they could be, I don't know, they could be professors or different types of parties, and you're able to get feedback. But then you will have also the confidence that, hey, I this is kind of a thing, and I had to come up with something that doesn't exist, and I had to
Yeah.
put it on paper, even if I don't build it. But it's just to kind of get the mindset rolling, I would say,
Hmm.
and that can be valuable as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the thing I've learned in my management journey is one of the important skill to have as a leader is the listening.
Yes.
Uh, and I always find that if I'm in the call and if I speak first, the team sort of assumes that we are doing that.
Yes.
So I always let the team speak, and I'm the last one to talk in any
Yeah.
of my meetings, so
Yeah.
I can get real feedback out of the team and real input out of the team.
True. And also another thing is like the less you talk, not that you don't want to talk, but the less you talk, the more the team talks. They will come up with problems, but them talking, they will actually solve those problems as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Real time, because it's a collaboration and they're just sharing information, and you basically become a sounding board, but you're really there to remove the blockers.
Yeah, and I think the coaching element is really important as well for any leader that is not just technology leader,
Yeah.
but getting the most out of your team is
Yeah.
another most important skills that a leader should have.
Yeah. Agree.
Cool. I think that was some really good advice. So thanks for that, and thanks for joining us today. I had some really good conversation.
Thank you very much. Glad to join you.
Cool. Hopefully, we can talk again on any other topic soon.
Yeah, definitely hit me up anytime. Glad to help.
Cool. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. I've just